Hey. Today I wanted to show you how you can quickly add Foobara as a service object layer to an existing Rails app. I've got my pair programmer with me today. He'll probably be maybe less helpful than helpful, but anyway. I wanted to show how to add Foobara as a service object layer to an existing Rails app. So yeah, let's just dive into this. First, I need an existing Rails app. And I have one that I've gone ahead and just set up real quick. And I have the instructions on how I set it up in this blog post here, which I can link to in the description. But it's pretty simple, just Rails new with dash API. It only has one route, which is our resources route that only has one action, which is create. And then here's our greetings controller, which has a create action. And here's the implementation of the action. Just implements a hello world app. So we can post two greetings and we'll get back hello world. Does allow overriding the salutation and the greetie, and then it also has a few validations in it to make things a bit more spicy. So yeah, let's go ahead and actually run this thing. So Rails S to run it, and I'm going to go ahead and hit it with curl. So I'll do curl localhost 3000 greetings, and actually we have to post to it, so -x posts, and there's hello world, and then I'm going to add echo to so that it doesn't garble my prompt so much. But yeah, let's take a look at this controller action though, and I'm going to pull it up in an IDE. So it is the greetings controller, and if we look at this, the important thing to point out here is that we have domain logic and integration code tangled up together. So if we look here, we're getting params out of the salutation. This is actually HTTP integration code, because this is ultimately digging salutation out of the query string or the request body. And we also, though, default it to hello, which is domain logic, and we capitalize it, which is also domain logic. And this also means, though, that since we can override the salutation, let's actually go play with that now. So I can do salutation equals hi. So now it's hi world instead of hello world. If we come back over here, we can see that if we go a little bit deeper, here we have a validation on the salutation. We don't allow any kind of variation on a hissing salutation. So that validation is domain logic. However, the very next line is rendering, which is HTTP integration, and JSON, which is HTTP integration. Has nothing to do with the hello world domain. And then here we are constructing the error structure, which is domain logic, and we're giving a status of 422, unprocessable entry, which is again HTTP code. So we have a nice alteration here between domain logic, HTTP integration code, domain logic code, HTTP integration code. They're blended together. They're tangled up. They are coupled, which can be fine. But if you have a complicated domain, I think this is going to result in a lot of headaches. So what a lot of teams have done is introduced some kind of layer between their controllers and their models to house a lot of this domain logic. And that's what we're ultimately going to set up with Foobara here. So, and then here, the last line, we see the same thing. Render JSON, HTTP integration code. Combining the salutation and the greetie with a comma, joining them with a comma, and then adding an exclamation point. That's domain logic. Let's test out this hiss operation, though. So if I come back over here, I can do hiss, and here we see an error payload, and it's a 422, even though we don't see that it's a 422. I don't have curl outputting that, but that's fine. So yeah, now for the fun. How can we add Foobara quickly to this application? I am going to do that by using foobify-rails-app. There's two ways we could do it. We could gem install foobify-rails-app. I'm just going to add it to the gem file, which is, I would prefer to do it that way. So I should just copy and paste this from the blog post, but I want to put it in the development group. And it's gem, foobify-rails-app. Okay. So now I can bundle install. Should pick that up. Okay, there it is. So now I can run it. I'm just going to go ahead and run it with help. And so we see we have a few options. I'm just going to run it without any options for now. And let's see what it does to our application. Let's run bundler, the linter. Okay. So if I look here, I added this to the gem file to get foobify-rails-app, but it added the dependency to Foobara. And the only other thing it did is it actually wired up Foobara with this to prepare callback in order to make Foobara work properly with Zywork. So pretty simple. It's a very small footprint to add Foobara to a Rails app and use it as a service object layer if that's how you want to use it. But it's hard to remember this, like the details of this, so it's actually really nice to just have a simple generator for it. But now let's go ahead and make use of Foobara. We have our new, we have it wired up with Foobara, but we don't have any commands yet. So I'm actually going to now run foobify-rails-app again, but with this option, include sample command. This is going to create a sample command for us, and that sample command just so happens to implement the exact same hello world high-level domain operation that we had implemented in our controller action, blended together with our integration code. So let's take a look at that actually. We can see the sample command here, and actually I'm going to look at it in the IDE. So construct greeting. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. And so yeah, here we can see a Foobara command. It has a name, description, some inputs that are typed, a result, which is typed, some possible errors. We have an execute method, which I like to use as an opportunity to write a self-documenting method on what kind of algorithm is going to get carried out if I run this command. We have a validate method, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to get into the details of this particular command's implementation, but an important thing about it is there is no HTTP integration code in here. So nowhere in here do we see anything that has anything to do with HTTP. That's important. This is all just pure domain logic. So we have encapsulated a high-level domain operation in a Foobara command. Now, let's go make use of it in our controller action. So in our controller action, greetings controller, we can just call the command directly. So normally with Foobara, we wouldn't even have to do that. But since the goal we're trying to do here is just set it up and use it as a service object layer in a Rails application, we're just going to call the command directly from the controller action. And we're using it to get the domain logic out of our controller action. So we're just going to call it directly, which we can do like this. Construct greeting.run salutation, params salutation, and greet. Oops. Params. Greet. Okay. So we've ran our command and gotten the outcome. Now we need to decide what we're going to do with it. So if outcome.success, we're just going to render the result as JSON. Outcome.result. Else render JSON, and we're just going to output. We're going to render JSON of a hash of errors. So I'm going to call errors hash, and we'll use the same HTTP status as before, which was this one, 420, which is 422, and that's it. We don't actually need anything else in here, and so that's definitely a lot shorter, but that's not the most important thing. Is not that this is now shorter. It's that this is all entirely concerned with HTTP integration. This code now is simply an implementation of how do we expose the high-level construct greeting domain operation through HTTP using the Rails router and the Rails controller action. And this means that our construct greeting command is now reusable in active jobs or in rake tasks. And if we're using like all of Foobara's features, we can also easily expose it to an MCP server, or sorry, an MCP client, all of that stuff. So yeah, let's run it. So if we come over here, I'm just going to rerun this command. I stopped the server, so I have to spin it up again. And if we run this, and here we get, it's a different error structure because the hard-coded structure before was a little different than how Foobara structures errors. That's fine. And then we can run it with hi. We get hi world, and then the default is going to be hello world. So there we have it. We had an application that had a controller action that blended together and coupled integration code with domain logic. Now that domain logic is isolated and reusable. So there you have it. There's a lot more, like I said, that you could do with Foobara. I'm not going to try to do that here. I think it's better just to end this video here, and maybe I'll make another video showing how I could use Foobara to completely get rid of that controller, the greetings controller entirely, as well as that Rails route that we had that, or at least the resource part out of the Rails router. And yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching the end. Peace. Bye.